The wood for this project is some really weathered tongue and groove 2x6 Douglas fir. It was originally from an animal corral that I helped break apart years ago. We were given a table about 10 years ago. It's been good to us, but it kind of shakes now like a T-Rex is stomping around the corner. The final length is going to be about 5 feet, so I rough cut the boards to 67 inches. This is the first time I've used Gorilla Glue. It's that stuff that activates with water and then foams up. One tip for whenever you're using this stuff is to clamp your project with the top up. This way when the glue expands and drips down, it's on the bottom and you got less to clean up on the top. I did some basic flattening. During this process I was more interested in making the bottom flat. You'll see why later. So there was some intention someplace to trim this to its final size with a handsaw, but I was really running out of daylight fast, and so I switched over to a circular saw. This wood is really soft from being exposed for so long, so 4 1 by 1.5 inch metal tubes were used to reinforce the bottom. That'll keep the table from flexing for sure. Once the layout of the steel reinforcement was figured out, holes were drilled to attach them to the bottom. Gorilla Glue and 2-inch screws were used to attach the structural metal tubes. I installed the outside ones first since they'll be used to determine where the hairpin legs are positioned. From there, the 2 interior supports were just evenly distributed. I was afraid if I just mounted the hairpin legs on that soft Douglas fir, they would get loose over time. So I cut a 6-inch square, 3/4 inch thick plywood base to install them on. Once painted up, the plywood blocks were glued and screwed in place. I wanted to smooth out the wood, but not lose the texture of the grain. I thought I'd try compressing the fibers with a bundle of bamboo skewers. Compressing the fibers like this left it pretty smooth. Eventually I used some 220 grit sandpaper in the final finishing, but that was more for the different layers of finish to adhere to each other. The first coat of finish I put on was some flat polyurethane. And man, the wood was really soaking this stuff up. Putting on that first coat made me realize some of these gaps were huge. So I layered up some epoxy in there. It took about 24 hours for that epoxy to set. After some light sanding, I put on 2 coats of semi-gloss polyurethane. The 28-inch legs were installed 3/8 of an inch from the steel supports and the edge of the plywood. I think if I was going to do this again, I'd go with the shorter leg, maybe 26 inches instead of 28. The table's a little higher than the previous one, but I think that's just because of the 3/4 inch plywood. Well, I'd like to thank you for watching. Barda's Shop Dog cameo's next. If you want to see what's going on behind the scenes, there's some social media links below. Get out there, make something, and we'll see you next time.